Um, I'm actually going to start by not reading from my notes. For one, there's quite a few people I want to pay tribute to. First of all, the Honourable Lady for Kingston, Hull West and Hessel, who's unfortunately not in her place, for bringing forward this very important debate. Again, also for the Honourable Lady for Lancaster and Fleetwood, who I'm very fortunate and proud to be a member of the same APPG for those affected by sodium valproate. Between the work that she does along with her constituent and my constituent, they really are a force to be beholden. But I want to actually turn them very awkwardly to my right honourable friend, the member for Elmer Rothwell, because he made a very important point, but a very depressing point. Because it does appear that women's health only seems to be paid any real attention when men talk about it. And that is a very, very depressing thought, that not only every man in this chamber, every woman in this chamber, but every woman out there in the country. Because it shouldn't take a man to come forward and say, there's a problem that we need to be listening to. It's the women who are going to their GP who aren't being listened to, who are being medically gaslighted and being told, actually, you don't have this, you might have something else, it's just a bad period, why don't you try some more painkillers? And that is wrong. And as my right honourable friend talked about, when we come to endometriosis, when it can take nearly 9 years to be diagnosed, the number of women who unfortunately end up taking their own life because they cannot cope with the daily pain, that is something that we should all be ashamed of and do everything we can in this chamber to get right. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, I do want to talk about sodium valproate in particular, and I will try to keep my comments more brief because I think what the Honourable Lady for Lancaster and Fleetwood said does actually cover the main ethos of the debate, really. And it all comes down to what Baroness Cumberledge in her report said. For decades, the healthcare system has neglected to inform patients about the effects of valproate on unborn babies. These effects include physical malformations, autism and developmental delay in many children when it's taken by mothers during pregnancy. And for many, valproate provides an incredibly valuable relief from epilepsy and mental illness. So it's a drug that continues to be prescribed because for some, there is no alternative. But for all these years, there's been no advice to the contrary, to say, if you take this whilst you are pregnant, the impact it can have on your unborn child and the development of that child. Unfortunately, that advice has been lacking. So many, many expectant mothers have been taking this in ignorance, and it's right that that is now started to be addressed. However, we do need to go much, much further. Madam Deputy Speaker, thanks to decades of campaigning from scientists, from doctors, from charities and affected families, proper mechanisms have been put in place and patients are now warned about the effects of valproate on their unborn child. But not only this, the government has launched the Valproate Pregnancy Prevention Programme to ensure that no unborn baby is affected again. But again, we need to make sure that every GP is aware of this, so that not only are patients potentially advised about the negligible impact, but they are actually actively informed when they are being prescribed this medication. Having said that, Madam Deputy Speaker, the time it took for the healthcare system to listen and respond has left acute suffering and serious concern for the families affected. As Baroness Cumberledge said in the review, the system is not good enough at spotting trends in practice and outcomes that give rise to safety concerns. Ultimately, the one message we all need to realise is that listening to patients is pivotal. When many, many people come forward with symptoms, doctors need to listen. We need to listen to doctors, and we need to send a strong message that we are there to listen and act upon their concerns. Madam Deputy Speaker, my constituent, similar to the member from Lancaster and Fleetwood, suffers from epilepsy and needs valproate to treat her epilepsy disorder. It is the only drug that's been able to provide relief for her condition. She has 5 children. All of them have unfortunately been affected by fetal valproate spectrum disorder. And this is because my constituent wasn't given any information, let alone the right information, about what effect this medication might have on her children. And as much as I support the any information, let alone the right information, about what effect this medication might have on her children. And as much as I support the initiatives put in place to prevent future avoidable compensation that they deserved. So can I urge the government and the Minister to establish a redress agency as set out in the first Do No Harm report recommendations, which I wholeheartedly support, to ensure that the victims of Valproate